Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jananandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jananandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Go Premanande. Save the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, text number 9. Tam semantam mahabhagan upalabhya vashuta maha pujayamasa dharmagno dasa kala vibhagavit. Word for word. Tan. All of them. Samitan, assembled together. Mahabhagan, all greatly powerful. Upalabhya, having received. Vasu Uttama, the best among the Vasus. Bhishma Dev. Pujayam Asa, welcomed. Dharma Gya, one who knows religious principles. Desa, place. Kala, time. Vibhaga Vit, one who knows the adjustment of place and time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation, Bhishma Dev, who was the best among the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Please repeat. Bhishma Dev, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Purport. Expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas, or religious preachers, or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. Bhishma Dev was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service, and therefore he could receive and welcome the all-powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically, because he was neither at his home nor in a normal, healthy condition. But he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were well received. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words, and he knew well how to utilize them in the proper place. and therefore there was no difficulty for him to receive them, although physically unfit. Amagana Timirandasya Jananjanan Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Sva Padantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances under the dust of his lotus feet. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Tamal Krishna Goswamini Dinamini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschajadi Shatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivastati Gaura Bhaktavinda Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripasinivaseva Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, thanks for being here today for Bhagavatam class on Saturday. This chapter is titled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev. So Bhishma Dev is leaving his body. And does everybody know the story? Do we know why Bhishma Dev is passing away? He has all the arrows shot into him, right? And it's so amazing because the Pandavas, they didn't know how to defeat Bhishma Dev. And he was undefeatable, right? He couldn't be defeated in battle. So he said, they went to him at the end of the fighting one night after he almost killed Arjuna, right? Krishna had to pick up the chariot wheel and protect Arjuna, right? So Krishna went back on his word, right? Krishna said, I won't fight. But what did he do? He fought. But why did he fight? To protect his devotee, his pure devotee, his friend Arjuna. So this is very significant for us. We can expect Krishna's mercy in so many ways. So Bhishma Krishna protected Arjuna from Bhishma's onslaught. He was certainly dead, but Krishna intervened. So that evening they went to Bhishma and the Pandava brothers, and they said, grandfather, we love you so much, but how can we defeat you? And he said, I am so glad you have finally come to ask me this. So he said, I think the name of the warrior was, does anybody remember Bhishma had rescued some princesses, and the princesses were put on his cart, and he drove them away to rescue them. But then they weren't allowed, they couldn't get married because the kings that they were supposed to marry rejected them. So one of the princesses said, you have to marry me. And Bhishma said, I can't marry. I've made a vow. That's what Bhishma means. I made a vow. I will never marry. And so she cursed him, right? And she did tapasya to take birth as, was it Sukundi? No, it wasn't Sukundi. Who was? Anyway, she took birth as in a male body, but she was still considered female, right? And then she trained up in military arts because she wanted her revenge on Bhishma, right? She was so angry. So Bhishma said, you put this warrior in front of me because she's really a woman. I won't fire my arrows. I can't shoot because there's a woman on the battlefield. So you put her in front and then you shoot me. And they were all, aghast. Wow. They didn't want to. Arjuna was crying, right, when he finally had to shoot Bhishma. And of course they shot him full of arrows, and Bhishma just laid backwards, right, onto a bed of arrows, and so he was just sitting like that for quite a few days till the opportune moment that he could leave his body. So we're hearing about the passing away of Bhishma. And Bhishma Dev does so many amazing things during this time, right? He's on a bed of arrows, right? And first he asks for a pillow, right? And so the Kauravas go and get some fluffy pillows for his head. And he goes, that's not a fit pillow for a Kshatriya. He goes, Arjuna, make me a headrest. So he shoots arrows and builds a little headrest, for Bhishma Dev to put his head. And then he's thirsty, so they fire an arrow into the ground, right? And Ganga Jal comes up. And Ganga was his mother, right? He's the son of Ganga Devi. So Bhishma consoles Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira is very upset because, they've won the battle, and 600 million. Can you imagine 600 million men in about 2-3 weeks? There were piles of bodies and rivers and lakes of blood, right? And so many elephants, and you can imagine the carnage, the devastation. So Yudhisthira, all this for me, to be the ruler, to be the emperor, he felt really bad. So Bhishma said, this was done according to Krishna's will, and so don't be depressed, don't be sad about this. This was done for Krishna, by Krishna's will, and when you do what Krishna wants, you're never the loser. We can't always understand what Krishna wants, right? We can't always understand what Guru tells us to do. That's a really important thing that happens to us when we first surrender. We get a spiritual master. And he or she will tell us to do so many things, and some of the things we can do and some things we can't. But it's all for our good. And sometimes we just think, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, or I'm not going to do this. We might reject it. And if we do, we're the loser. We're going to lose out because we can't understand how important it is that somebody who knows us better than we know ourselves, right, has just told us, hey, do you trust me? Do you trust me? I'm telling you, this is be good for you, Will you just do this, And if we do it, Guru is pleased. And if Guru is pleased, who else is pleased? Krishna, right? Krishna is pleased. So it's a really nice process of Krishna consciousness. So Bhishma is instructing Yudhisthira. And he's about to instruct Yudhisthira. And right now, he's welcoming guests. Do we all know how to do that in a nice way? I'm working on it. I'm not so good at it. You have someone visit your home, you're supposed to bring them in, sit them down, offer them some water, feed them maybe, give them a nice place to sit. And instead, and even if they're unwanted guests, even if they're an enemy, what? Even if they're an enemy, right? You should bring them in. Like at the end of a day's battle, Duryodhana would have dinner, with Arjuna, right? I mean, they had just been trying to kill each other during the day, but fighting is over. We go back to being, they were Kshatriyas, so they had a code. And the code was, you don't fight at night. Now, they did have some limited night fighting that was arranged for Kurukshetra. It's very interesting. Bhima had a son who was half Rakshasa, and so he led some of that night fighting. But they acted according to codes of behavior, right? They didn't act like fools. After the battle was declared done, the sun had gone down. We act according to codes of behavior, religious codes. So Bhishma is doing a remarkable thing here. He's lying on a bed of arrows, and he's got arrows sticking out of him, and he can probably just barely move his head, but he can see who's come. And what's happened here? All of these great and powerful rishis assembled there because they know, right? They know, like something goes out in the cosmos, they're Trikala Gyan, they have deep mystic powers, they know this is a special event. Kurukshetra is happening. Kurukshetra is over. We're going to go and see Bhishma Dev leave his body. And who's there? Krishna, right? Bhishma gets to leave his body looking into the lotus eyes of Krishna, right? Amazing, huh? So Prabhupada makes the point that Bhishma receives the rishis and the great powerful sages assembled there because he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. And so expert religionist, and that's what we're supposed to become. We're supposed to become expert. They know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. And who was the emblem for doing this? Srila Prabhupada, right? He's writing this purport, and literally he's writing about himself, because this is what he had to do. He was sent by Krishna, and for the 1960s and the 1970s, he had to deliver Krishna consciousness to the whole world in the unique flavor of the times, right? Those times have come and gone. There's a little bit different, but basically the same thing is there, and that is this. We're all crazy, right? We're all crazy for sense gratification. And it's Kali Yuga, right? And we're all understanding that we're not getting real pleasure from the material world, right? We try to enjoy so many things, but it's really not satisfying, right? So we've gotten a sense that, wait a minute, there must be something more than this material sense enjoyment. Oh, there is. I go to the temple, I meet devotees, I honor prasadam. I feel so much more enlivened by this lifestyle, right? So we adopt it, and we're struggling to improve ourselves as devotees. And so when we get really good, really intelligent, and we become advanced, we become an acharya, right? Which is an example. Prabhupada is our acharya. He's our founder acharya of ISKCON. And a great acharya, or religious preacher, or reformers of the world. Wow. Prabhupada is a reformer of the world. We're trying to reform the whole world, because the whole world is full of, crazy people. We want to make them sane. We have people that are being very sinful. Great pop, right? Bad pop being committed. So we have to reform the world by this execution of their mission, by the adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world. And if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of time and place. How did Srila Prabhupada do that? What's the biggest one y'all can think of? I'll start. It's Prabhupada, his standard was 64 rounds, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur said, if you don't chant 64 rounds a day, you're fallen, right? So that is literally what? About 9 hours of chanting. So Prabhupada knew we couldn't handle that. He started out with that, and he could see his disciples couldn't do it, so he went down. Okay, 32 rounds. They couldn't do that. Okay, 16, I'm not going any lower. So Prabhupada could adjust for time and place, and he knew our natures. Prabhupada knew we needed to be married. He could see that boys and girls were very, very freely associating. So he said, get married. And so he married them. And he said, sannyasis don't get involved in this. He goes, but I am, because my disciples need to be married. And so that's the mercy of Prabhupada. That's the ability of an acharya to adjust things according to time and place. Does anybody think of any other things Prabhupada adjusted? Yeah. Perfect. That's a big one, isn't it? Srila Prabhupada empowered women, right? We're not our bodies. If we're not our bodies, then what's wrong with ladies going on the altar and doing deity worship and cooking for the Lord and all these things? And so this is a huge reason Prabhupada gave so much credit to his lady disciples for helping to spread Krishna consciousness in the early days. And now, today, we need to keep on empowering all the devotees, men, women, doesn't matter, Indian, Western, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. We have to empower the devotees, because we're not our bodies, we're spirit, soul, right? And if we can begin to break our conditioning, break our conditioning and think in ourselves, male body, female body, and actually acknowledge that everyone has a birthright. Everyone has a birthright to do devotional service, to be there. Everyone is entitled to be the heirs of their father. Everyone has a father. And when the father passes away, what does he give? He gives his estate. He gives so much money to his heirs, to his descendants. They inherit the inheritance. We are entitled fully to the inheritance of our Father, who wants to give us everything. Not anything material. Krishna wants to give us the spiritual. He wants us to come back to the spiritual world where we get the full inheritance that is our birthright because we're spirit souls. And so this adjustment is really amazing. Bhishma was one of the 12 great authorities, right? Those are called Mahajans, right? The Mahajans. And he was so expert in preaching the cult of devotional service. Therefore, he could welcome and receive all the powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. And he couldn't do it physically, right? Because he was stuck on a bed of arrows, but he could still do it with his mouth, right? He could speak nicely and welcome them. And he said, although he was not in a normal, healthy condition, right? Can you imagine? What could we do if we had about 500 arrows sticking in us, right? Could we maintain our life arrows? Could we lay on a bed of arrows and maintain ourselves? So amazing. So he wasn't in a fit condition, but still he was of sound mind. And therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions. So he wasn't just going, I'm dying, hello. No, he was like, hello, Hare Krishna. Oh, my old friend. Oh, there's so-and-so. Oh, I'm so nice to see you. You've come to see me pass away. So he was hearty. He welcomed them with love and affection, and they were well received. And this is instructive for us. Prabhupada's going to tell us. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words. So who's the great one by mind, the example that's out there, that the Brahmin who would cook in his mind for Krishna, right? He would make sweet rice, and he was doing this for his deities, and because he couldn't do it physically, he was prevented somehow from doing it, right? So he did it in his mind. He got all the ingredients together. He gets the fire going, the pot, the sweet rice, the milk. He's doing it. He's adding it. It's a detailed meditation in his mind. And then what does he do? He puts his finger in to test the consistency of the sweet rice, and he burns his finger. And he opens his eyes, and his finger's burned. Wow, that's amazing. This is service in the mind and by words. We can perform service by our words. Instead of speaking about silly things, nonsense, and material enjoyment, we talk about Krishna. We talk about service. We chant Hare Krishna. Our words we're allowed to vibrate a sound vibration that's non-different from God. Krishna, we can say Krishna. Krishna is Harinam. He's the holy name. And Krishna says, I'm non-different from my name. In this age, I come in the form of my name, and I'm not different from my name. We're allowed, we can utter Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. It's amazing. It's Krishna. We do that, and we're not wasting our time talking about nonsense things. And we make advancement, and we become able to understand how to adjust things in terms of time and place. Even now, we're not necessarily going to go to a foreign land and have to adjust things the way Srila Prabhupada did, right? But we have to understand how to preach according to time and place, according to the style of the person that we meet, right? You meet a drunkard, can you start telling him about, preaching? No, the person's drunk. They can't even understand things. What do? Glass of water, water offered to Krishna. Get him some prasadam if they can eat it. You have to adjust things. The Christians out on the street when we do Harinam, sometimes they got a bullhorn and they're shouting, Jesus, Jesus, and then they see us and they go, you're demons, you're going to die, and you're going to go to hell. That kind of person we don't walk up to and try to give them a book right then. You know what I mean? It's a time, place, and time and place. You have to understand what to do at the right time. One can perform one's duty. What's one's duty? Dharma, spiritual practices, bhakti. Our duty is to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. We do it by physical work and labor, by our mind, and by our words. And Bhishma knew well how to utilize all these things in the proper place. He knew how to do this. He couldn't physically do anything anymore, but he could do things with his mind and with his words. So he was welcoming the sages in a nice way. He had no difficulty to receive them, even though he was in such a difficult condition. And our condition is very difficult too. We're in material bodies. The material bodies are getting older. They're becoming diseased. They're becoming wore out. They're becoming useless in many ways. And slowly, we begin to lose bodily functions. And the warnings are there. Krishna begins to warn us, you're not going to be here forever. Okay. How much more time do you want to go on, just wasting your time? You can have a longer life, but if you're just wasting your time, what's the point? Dedicate every moment to Krishna consciousness. When you're young, there's really not any young people in here, you still have a full life ahead of you, you still have things to do. So that you were not focused as much on the end, but and you want to do those things, but you want to do all your things in life for Krishna, right? You get married, you have children, you do a job, you do it for Krishna, and you can dovetail everything in Krishna's service. And so, but some of us, we're older, and so this physically being unfit, is more real. When you get older, you start to really realize that this body's not going to be here forever, and it's more of a it's not just a mental thing. You understand it, intellectually, but you have to understand it more deeply. There's a deeper understanding, a deeper realization that you utilize your time, your precious time, because it's getting shorter. You want to utilize that time in Krishna's service. And so Bhishma Dev, he did that, right? His final pastimes were the Battle of Kurukshetra. And at first he wasn't fighting with a lot of enthusiasm, right? So Duryodhana had to go to him and say, you're not fighting hard enough, The Pandavas are still alive. What are you? Well, you're not fighting. And that made him, it would make any Kshatriya angry, right? Don't accuse me of not fighting hard, So he goes, so he made a vow, today Arjuna dies, And so, wow. And so we have the most wonderful pastime where Krishna has to pick up that chariot wheel and protect Arjuna. And Krishna picks up that wheel and he charges at Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma just drops his weapons. He says, I'm ready. Kill me, Lord. I'm ready. I can't beat you. I'm not going to fight my Lord. I'm not going to fight Krishna. Krishna's Supreme Personality got it, and Bhishma knew that, and so that's it. And so he was so happy. Why was he so happy? Because he made Krishna go back on his word to protect his devotee. He loved Arjuna. He didn't want to kill the Pandavas. So he was so happy that Krishna was willing to go back on his word. Krishna would break his promise not to fight in order to uphold a higher love that he has for his pure devotees, that he has for the devotees. And each one of us, Krishna has that much love for all of us. It's not just that Krishna only loves Radharani. He only loves the gopis. He only loves the gopas. He only loves his parents. He only loves the Mahajans. He only loves the pure devotees. He loves all the devotees. In fact, everyone's his devotee. He considers everyone his devotee. Sometimes when we're at Ratha Yatra, you can see Jagannath is on his cart and he's going along. People are on the road and they look up and they see, and sometimes they see Lord Jagannath for the first time. They're stunned, to see the cart, and they're, wow. And one time I had this sensation, this understanding that Jagannath was claiming every single person he saw. You're mine now, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. And they went about doing the same, things they were doing before. They were smoking or drinking or talking or hitting each other, whatever they're doing. It's a rowdy crowd at a parade. It's just a St. Patrick's Day parade, right? One time we took the big cart and we had deities, and it was amazing. And even when they, the people you could feel that Jagannath was reclaiming the fallen souls, the lost souls, because they won't come into the temple room, right? So what does Jagannath do? Build me a car that looks like my temple. I'll get on that car and we'll go out. And I'll grab all the people, all the souls I see, say, you're coming back with me. And it's it. They're done. They're done as in material sense enjoyers. We are too. We're done. Christian's going to drag us back kicking and screaming if he has to, but he's going to take us back to Godhead. The question is when, right? How many more births do we need trying to enjoy this wretched material world? And we need to wrap it up, wrap it up, right? So that's the verse for today. I just started where the bookmark was. So thank you all for being here and for being so attentive. And do we have any questions, comments?
Can you give us an example of how your guru made adjustments?
Sure. The question is, can I say some way that my Guru Maharaj made adjustments for time, place, and circumstance that really affected me? Made adjustments. Well, there were so many ways that he affected me so deeply, personally. Well, I'll say this. When my Guru Maharaj went to Cambridge, right, he was studying for his PhD, and I was kind of like a mosquito. I was a gnat. I kept bothering him, saying, can I come see you? Can I come see you? So I had been out there already 2 or 3 times. I'd taken visits to be out there. And maybe it was twice I'd been there. And he said, okay, that's enough. You got to let other devotees come. He had a guest rooms and, an ashram and a nice house. And so I thought, gosh, how can I go again? And so Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu wanted to go. And I said, well, maybe we could go together. And then there's Rath Yatra. They were having Rath Yatra in London. So I said, well, Gurudev, I'm going to come with Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu. And he goes, well, I'd really like to see Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu. He goes, I want him to see me in my abode. And so, okay, you can come again. So these are the way the spiritual master, he'll in a sweet way, the guru will be like a father or mother. You tell your daughter or your son, don't do this. Come on, please stop. Then they'll say, oh, please, let me just do that or do. Okay, we're like pushovers. It's not they want to do something bad, right? But it's just something. Look, do your homework. Get on it. Well, can I just watch a little something first or do something else first? And, yeah, okay. You give in because it's a loving thing. So the spiritual master, they become expert at time and place. I saw it in Fiji, my spiritual master. I got to be there with him when he was traveling. And each night he would spend the night in a different house of one of his disciples because he wanted to give his association. So he'd be staying out in quite a ways from the temple sometimes and outside the city in beautiful, areas of Fiji. And his disciples would arrange the house nicely for him. They would have a program. But it was really a way he could interact nicely with the devotees. So he wasn't just, sannyasi typically, will stay in a sannyas ashram, right? But he was ready to go and accept the austerity, of trying to sleep in a different bed every night. Who can do that? It's impossible. I can't sleep in hotels anymore. I don't know about y'all, but it's just gross. It's noisy or weird, and he's just like, what's going on in this room? Or, it just disturbs you. I can't sleep. So I can't. And he was billion times more purified than I am. So you imagine that wasn't always easy. Now he was staying in devotees' homes, but it's the spiritual master is doing things on so many levels we can't even imagine. And they're helping so many souls. The spiritual master is interacting with his god brothers and god sisters. He's interacting with his family members to be merciful to them. He has so many disciples. He's trying to help them so much, and they require so much attention. It's unbelievable, right? Then you have the fallen souls that haven't surrendered yet, that you're trying to preach to new people, and then you make friends, and those friends need time and attention. You're trying to help them become devotees. So, yeah. Luckily, we're empowered. Everything we do is empowerment. Prabhupada said, the only credit I can take is that I did what my Guru Maharaj asked me to do, and I didn't change anything. Isn't that amazing? Prabhupada could change things according to time, place, and circumstance, but he didn't change the basic core. He didn't change it. He didn't change the basic Krishna consciousness. And he was very clear about that. No, you must chant 16 rounds. You must follow regulated principles. Prabhupada said, I would have been king of the world. I would have the biggest religion on the planet if there were only 2 regulative principles, right? So he didn't do that. He stuck to it. There's 4 regulative principles, and each one is important, and it has to be followed if you want to purify yourself so that you can truly understand who is Krishna. And just take a second to really think about that. That what we're doing will lead us to understand God. God. I mean, come on. God created everything. Just look at Texas, how big Texas is, how amazing Texas is. The United States, the world, the oceans, the mountains, the stars. And this is a tiny fraction, a tiny spark of his brilliance. God. Can you imagine that? We can actually we can have a personal relationship with the supreme personality of Godhead. God. I mean, we're talking about God here, right? We're not talking about a demigod. We're not talking about a powerful king or a president or a big military person. God himself. God of the Father of Jesus. God the Father of the Israelites. God the Father of the Muslims. Same God, right? He's the God of everyone. He owns everything. Krishna owns everything. He owns our bodies. He owns our minds. But he gives us independence. Why? So we can go away and come back. Because that's the most loving thing. If you deny love to someone, say, I don't love you anymore, I'm leaving. But that person still loves you that you left. And then finally you come back to him, wow, that's rejoicing time, right? Because that person was lost to me. I lost that person. But they came back and said, I missed you. I want to have a relationship with you. You're ecstatic, right? You're so happy. This is what Krishna wants. He never stops thinking of us. He never stops. He wants us back. Zillions and zillions and gazillions of fallen souls, and he wants every one of them back. They're all his separated part and parcels, right? Go figure. But it's so wonderful that we have been benedicted to be part of the Hare Krishna movement, and we have real knowledge, right? Real knowledge of who is God. Thank you all very much. Antara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON Guru ki. Assembled devotees ki. Go, Premanandi. Probably at least 3 or 4. He did his really? Yeah. That may have been an